Hello, it's me, I'm back. And today my fashion inspiration is the ghost of a Victorian child. This dress has a beautiful collar, but I also need us to take a moment to appreciate these extremely large sleeves. Today I want to talk about the cult in the occult, but before we get there, I hope it's okay if I talk shop for just a second. I have made $0 off this YouTube channel because it is not monetized. I do have over 1,000 subscribers, but I haven't met the 4,000 hours of watch time threshold to be monetized. There are hundreds of views on the newer videos, but what you don't see is that the watch time, like the average watch time, is under 2 minutes. And if I could get that up and I could get monetized and I made like 50 cents off this YouTube channel, then I feel like that would hype me up enough to like hire an animator to make me a really cute little intro video, because that is what I would really like to take this channel to the next level. So if y'all could stick around for at least half the video, then you would learn something for sure, because this is a good one. But also you would be helping me out as well. Because when people click on my video and then they see this face and they click off like in seconds, that can be kind of ego crushing. I am 90% joking about that, but I'm also kind of 10% serious. Okay, so let's get into today's topic. But one more thing before we get there. I am a skeptical atheist witch, and I do not believe in anything supernatural. There's no supernatural aspect to my witchcraft. It's more based on the placebo effect and other things that are observable like in the natural world. But if you are an atheist witch who does have supernatural belief, because remember, atheist just means no deities. So you can absolutely be an atheist who also believes in supernatural things. Please stick around because I know that there's going to be helpful stuff in here for you as well. Also, if you're not an atheist, for our theistic witches, for our Wiccans, please also stick around, because I think that the information in this particular video is definitely not specific to atheist witches that don't believe in supernatural things like me. But it does come from that perspective, so let me be the skeptical atheist in your life that maybe balances you out a little bit. When somebody makes the decision to incorporate witchcraft into their life, usually the first step is research, 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 research. So at this stage, we are looking for reference material, we're seeking out elders, and we might also be looking for communities that are going to be tolerant of a new witch. At this stage, the focus is to be humble, to be a sponge, to really just take in all the information. And that's not a bad thing. Being humble is a wonderful thing, because you don't want to be that witch that just got started on their path and they are already starting to like check and gatekeep other witches. We don't want to be that person that saw some catchy memes and now we're on our Facebook group or Reddit thread and we're speaking in absolutes. Like, that's embarrassing behavior. So of course, yeah, we're researching in the beginning, but there are dangers and pitfalls when you are in this research stage, especially if you come into it like being a sponge and being a blank slate. Experimenting in your daily practice is more concrete and it's rooted in reality. Research, on the other hand, can get very abstract very quickly. And what I'm talking about is falling down the rabbit hole. Falling down the rabbit hole is a reference to Alice in Wonderland. When she falls, she ends up in an alternate reality, and it's completely bizarre and disorienting. Today we use this to describe what happens when algorithms slowly lead you down a path toward conspiracy theories and dangerous beliefs. The problem lies in that the hand that is leading you down into this alternate reality is completely unseen. And it can feel a lot like our own intuition and our own truth-seeking. It's actually not your curiosity that's leading you, it's an algorithm that doesn't see nuance. And the danger is, because it's such a slow progress, that you may not know that it's happening. You might be researching herbs for your ritual, and your favorite herbalist might suddenly be talking about anti-vax nonsense. You might be really connecting with Norse mythology, and you find yourself in a group on Facebook that's full of white supremacists. You might be looking online for your birth chart, and then suddenly somebody's selling you a $200 kit to know deeper information about yourself, and it reveals that you are a starseed and you contain alien DNA. We call this falling down the rabbit hole, and it may seem harmless, but it has ruined people's lives. We in the witchcraft community have a special vulnerability to this because oftentimes our practice expects us to suspend our disbelief. You might feel called to rewrite your understanding of the world around you. New Age books will often cite ancient knowledge that supersede our scientific understanding. Influential practitioners might call for you to question your skepticism and also might call you to question your ties with friends and family. And this can be a great experience, but it can also leave us open to dangerous things like conspiracy theories. So how do we protect ourselves, and how do we not fall prey to these harmful beliefs? How do we keep ourselves from falling down the rabbit hole? So remember everything that you learned about sources in middle school? Those things are all still true today. So is the information coming from an authority figure? If so, then we need to analyze that authority figure. Are they a doctor? Are they a scientist? Are they a researcher? If so, what is their specific area of understanding and expertise? Just because you have a doctorate in one area doesn't give you a blanket of knowledge of all areas of study. So what are their credentials? And are they speaking from a place of authority within a specific area of study? Or are they just generally talking about things that are really outside of their expertise? And what positions have they held that further supports that expertise? Are there degrees from credible universities? Have they worked for credible institutions? For example, Donald Gary Young, the founder of Young Living Essential Oils, often would abbreviate his name D. Gary Young, and it was probably so that at a glance you might mistaken him for Dr. Gary Young. But he actually had no medical credentials at all, and he was never hired by any sort of medical institution. He would wear a lab coat around and take lots of pictures in front of what looked like scientific equipment, but he actually had no credentials at all to speak on anything medical. Ken Ham, the very famous young earth creationist, has a bachelor's in science degree. He's published a few papers, but none of them have been in serious scientific journals. So what are we looking for when we see an authority figure speaking on a topic? We're looking for someone with credentials from a reputable university in a very specific area that they are speaking on. We are looking for someone who have had jobs in the field that they're speaking on. Also, if they've published any work, it needs to be published in a reputable journal, and it should be peer-reviewed. If you're looking at an experiment or a study, has it been replicated? What does the data pool look like? Was it conducted before the 1950s with a really small data pool and it hasn't been reconducted since? We've learned to vet sources when we were in middle school, but does that protect us from falling down the rabbit hole? Unfortunately, no, because even very well-educated people will fall prey to conspiracy theories. And how does this happen? Because joining in on a conspiracy theory makes us feel like we are part of an in-group and that we are not part of the excluded out-group. We are social-based organisms, and being in the in-group means comfort and success, and being part of the out-group means suffering and probable death. So there are a lot of built-in mechanisms that our brain uses to reward us for that in-group feeling. Ancient wisdom, conspiracy theories, and miracle cures feel so good to us because it creates that in-group feeling. It's sort of an executive club that you're really lucky to be a part of, and then the out group of people, you feel sorry for them because they're ignorant and lost, and they're going to be in trouble when the truth is revealed. If only they were as lucky as you are to know the truth. This strongly bonds you with other people that also follow these beliefs. And it's that feeling of connection that all humans crave. So if you are already disconnected from other people, then this following of conspiracy theories and falling down the rabbit hole can fill that void that's in your heart because you've been disconnected from other people. If you are lonely, you are way more likely to fall prey to this. Most of us would gladly sacrifice our skepticism and our healthy understanding of the world if it meant more connection to other humans. So how do you know if you're falling down the rabbit hole? It's a good idea to every once in a while check in with the BITE model, which is a model that we use to identify cult behavior. And a lot of different toxic groups are going to utilize some of those cult techniques. BITE is an acronym, and the B stands for behavior control. So the red flags in this category are telling you how to live your life, like what to eat and drink, especially if what they're telling you to eat and drink is, not good for you, or if it is leaving you not feeling satisfied. If it takes a lot of personal willpower to eat and drink the things that this group is requiring you to eat and drink. This might sound familiar. There's a lot of groups that do extreme dieting that use this technique. In the same vein, if the group is controlling how you sleep, that is also a big red flag, because if you're hungry and tired, you're going to be more compliant to what the group wants. Something else in the category of behavior is dominating a lot of your free time. If the group or belief wants you to fill up large parts of your free time with particular activities, that's also definitely not a good sign. The I in BITE is for information control. So this is definitely if the group doesn't want you to talk to previous members who have fallen out of the group. They definitely will label those people as dangerous or toxic, like they fell out of the group because they're bad people, and any connection to them will be harmful to you. In the same way, they reject criticism by making a lot of media off limits. Like any media from outside the group is corrupted or wrong because they're from the other. The other is dangerous and you don't want to become a part of other. Remember, the group thinks that it only has the good information, and so anything from outside the group is suspect because they don't have the truth. In the same way, the group will encourage you to consume media from the group, like podcasts, YouTube videos, reading, on a daily basis. And that's sort of a way to keep you brainwashing yourself so that you don't seek any sort of skeptical review of what you're reading. The T in BITE is for thought control. And definitely, I think the biggest red flag here is toxic positivity, like thought-stopping behavior. So any sort of bad thoughts about the group or critical thoughts about what's going on with the group, you're trained to sort of push those thoughts out of your mind, because it's like being your own thought police. Like even these critical thoughts are, dangerous and undesirable. And so you're trained to be sort of fearful against these negative thoughts. And so you might use things like chanting, praying, reading more articles, about the group to push out these skeptical thoughts. And that's definitely self-thought control. You see this a lot in New Age groups, because if you are negative or skeptical in any way, then you are, vibrating poorly, or you're attracting negative energy, and then that will cause bad things to happen to you. When in reality, being realistic, skeptical, negative about things sometimes is a very healthy way to review, what you're doing. And if what you are doing is correct and what you are doing is the truth, then it should hold up to these negative thoughts, and it shouldn't be destroyed by skeptical review. So the idea that you have to force only positive thoughts about the group or what you're doing, that's a huge red flag. Also within thought control, the group will frame any sort of ideas from outside the group as being dangerous. People or ideas will be labeled specifically dangerous because that fear response is going to shut off your brain from being able to function at that higher skeptical state. Because when you are thinking of a place of fear, then you're only thinking with your most primal reactions. If they use thought control to keep you in that fearful primal state, then you are a lot more compliant. The E in the BITE model is emotion control, and how groups often use emotion control is that they sort everything into good and evil. Emotions are on such a complex spectrum. You can feel hundreds of emotions, but they really want to sort all of your emotions and oversimplify them down into good and evil. When you find yourself in a group that's toxic like this, you will often experience what is called love bombing, where you get a lot of very personal attention from other group members, maybe even leadership of the group, and they really are going to pay attention to their needs. And you may think that, oh, this is something I'm missing in my life, to be part of this group and to get so much support. It feels really, really good, but it is very short-lived, and it's really just how they get their hooks in you. Most people just think of love bombing as, hey, I'm new to the group. It's like a honeymoon period. But it's a lot easier to see when your honeymoon period is over and you can see someone else enter the group and then see how the love bombing is working to really draw them into the group. And it's a lot easier to see when it's done on someone else versus it being done on you. The other thing that toxic groups will do as far as emotion control is that they will set their standards way too high, so that you are basically set up for failure. And then when you do fail, they frame it in a way that it's not because the group is wrong and that their expectations are not realistic. It's because you have personally failed. And with all of the blame for your own failure squarely on yourself and not at all on the group, then that also can make you more compliant. You'll also see emotional control with shunning, whether it's temporary shunning or permanent shunning. And you will very much see this, in the middle school cafeteria, where a group will pick out a member and they'll make an example of that member. They'll cut that member off for a short period of time or maybe permanently. And it sort of strikes fear into the other members of the group, and it makes them more compliant to whatever's going on. Whether or not that person that gets cut out even did anything wrong or even deserves it in any way, it's just they are a tool in a machine. And yes, you see that in middle school cafeterias, but you can also see that sort of behavior in your local coven groups. And so be very aware of those manipulation tactics and call them out when you see them. Like, someone in your group might be very favorable one week, and then suddenly the relationship is soured with that person, and then everybody in the group is just expected to immediately go along with that change. Probably not even with full information about what went on. So knowing these signs and having the bite model can really help you not fall into toxic groups, not necessarily cults. Cult is very extreme, but groups that are not cults will still use some of these tactics to get compliance from their members. So knowing the bite model can really go a long way in protecting you from falling down the rabbit hole, but really the biggest thing you can do is to make sure that you are not in this lonely, vulnerable state that these conspiracy theories and these groups often prey on. When you are disconnected from other people, you are ready to fill that void with all sorts of gobbledygook. So the best thing that you can do to avoid this rabbit hole situation is, yes, educate yourself about these toxic manipulation tactics, but also make sure that you're reaching out to positive communities, keeping healthy relationships, because that's the best protection that you can have against this. All right, so that's all I have for you on this topic. Definitely I want to hear some discussions below. Have you gotten roped into a group that was using these toxic tactics? What made you realize that it was going on? Did you wise up? Did you get out? I definitely want to hear all about it, because I think your experiences can help other people. Some people don't even know that they're in a situation like this until they read someone else's comment about their experience, and then they see the parallels between that in their life, and it can be a big wake-up call for somebody. So I've been working on this script for a while, and I'm sorry it took me so long to get it out. There are some scripts that have sat for months and months, which sometimes it's a good thing, because honestly, sometimes after letting it sit for a month, I realize that it's a bad script and it should never see the light of day. But I'm definitely glad that I can get this video out, because it's something that I'm really passionate about, but also I think it's something that the community as a whole really needs to be serious about and we need to address. So anyway, I hope this can help you, or maybe just entertain you, and I hope you made it to the end of the video instead of 30 seconds in. But hopefully I won't make such a big gap between this video and my next video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!